In the vast frozen wilderness of Antarctica, a quiet conflict has simmered for decades. This is a struggle over some of the most magnificent creatures on our planet, the great whales. On one side, we find nations that have long traditions of whaling. Historically, Japan was a key player in Antarctic whaling, citing cultural heritage and scientific research as justifications for their hunts. These expeditions are immense undertakings, requiring specialized vessels and experienced crews to navigate the treacherous Southern Ocean. They pursued species like the minke whale, their hunts often shrouded in the mists of this remote polar region, asserting what they considered a right to harvest marine resources. Opposing them are the anti-whaling nations, a considerable group that includes Australia, New Zealand, and many members of the European Union. These nations advocate strongly for the complete cessation of all whaling activities. Their arguments are rooted in compelling scientific evidence, highlighting the vulnerability of whale populations and profound ethical concerns about hunting such intelligent, complex animals. They utilize international diplomatic channels, legal frameworks, and scientific forums to argue for stronger conservation measures. The aim is to transform the world's oceans into true sanctuaries where these gentle giants can roam free from the threat of the harpoon. Then there are the environmental activist groups, perhaps the most visible and vocal participants in this icy drama. Organizations like Sea Shepherd Conservation Society have become renowned for their direct action campaigns. Their vessels, often painted in bold colors and patterns, sail into the heart of the Southern Ocean to confront whaling fleets head-on. These dedicated individuals are driven by an unshakable passion to protect marine life. They meticulously document whaling activities, sometimes physically intervene to disrupt hunts, and strive to bring the stark realities of the whale hunt to global public attention, often placing themselves in considerable danger for this cause. And at the very center of this extraordinary and often perilous saga are the whales themselves. These are creatures of breathtaking scale and ancient wisdom, the undisputed sovereigns of the deep ocean. Majestic baleen whales, such as the humpback, the fin, and the minke, undertake incredible migrations spanning thousands of miles, journeying to the nutrient-rich Antarctic waters each year to feed. Alongside them, toothed whales, including the formidable orca, also patrol these icy seas. Their intricate social bonds and the haunting beauty of their songs have long captivated human imagination. They are undeniably vital to the delicate balance of marine ecosystems, yet their existence remains shadowed by human actions. The story of whaling is a long and often somber one, stretching back for many centuries. In ancient times, small coastal communities hunted whales for sustenance, a practice woven into their very survival. However, the advent of the Industrial Revolution brought transformative changes. Larger, faster ships powered by steam and later diesel were constructed. The invention of the explosive harpoon and the development of factory ships capable of processing whales entirely at sea turned whaling into a highly efficient global industry. Whale oil became essential, illuminating cities and lubricating the rapidly expanding machinery of a new age, while baleen shaped the fashions of the era. The reasons for this intensive pursuit were manifold, driven by the remarkable utility of whale products. Before the widespread availability of petroleum, whale oil was the premier fuel for lamps, casting a bright, clean light. Spermaceti, a waxy substance found in the heads of sperm whales, was used to make the finest, cleanest burning candles. Baleen plates, the filtering structures in the mouths of baleen whales, are strong yet flexible. They were the plastics of their day, used in items like corsets, umbrella ribs, and buggy whips. Ambergris, a rare and mysterious substance produced in the digestive systems of sperm whales, was, and still is, a highly prized fixative in luxury perfumes. And of course, whale meat has long been a source of food for people in various parts of the world. As whale populations dwindled alarmingly under the relentless pressure of this industrialized hunt, a moment of reckoning arrived. In 1946, concerned nations gathered to form the International Whaling Commission, or IWC. Its original mandate was somewhat paradoxical: to manage the orderly development of the whaling industry and to conserve whale stocks, ensuring their availability for future exploitation. The IWC established hunting quotas, designated specific seasons, and protected certain species. However, the scientific data available was often incomplete, and the economic interests of whaling nations frequently took precedence over urgent conservation needs, leading to continued declines for many species for several more decades. A significant shift occurred in 1986, when the IWC voted to implement a global moratorium on all commercial whaling. This was a landmark decision, reflecting a profound change in global consciousness regarding whales and their conservation. However, the moratorium contained a contentious provision that allowed member nations to issue special permits for the lethal taking of whales for purposes of scientific research. Some nations, most notably Japan, utilized this clause to continue whaling, harvesting hundreds of whales annually, primarily in the Antarctic region. This practice of scientific whaling became a source of intense controversy, with many scientists and conservation groups arguing it was merely commercial whaling operating under a different name. Antarctica, the Earth's southernmost continent, is a realm of ice and snow, seemingly inhospitable. Yet the Southern Ocean that encircles it teems with an extraordinary abundance of life, especially during the brief Antarctic summer. When the sun returns after the long polar winter, it fuels massive blooms of phytoplankton, microscopic marine plants that form the very base of the ocean's food web. These phytoplankton are consumed by colossal swarms of krill, small, shrimp-like crustaceans that are a cornerstone species in this ecosystem. It is this incredible profusion of krill that draws many of the world's great whale species on their long annual migrations to these frigid waters. This remarkable concentration of feeding whales, a testament to the richness of Antarctic waters, also made the region a prime target for whaling fleets, particularly as whale stocks in other oceans were depleted. The vastness and remoteness of the Southern Ocean offered a degree of seclusion from international scrutiny, allowing whaling operations to continue with less oversight than might have been possible elsewhere. Species like the Antarctic minke whale, smaller and more numerous than some of the nearly extinct giants, became the primary quarry for the whaling programs conducted under the banner of scientific research. The sheer scale of this ocean wilderness presented, and still presents, immense difficulties for effective monitoring and enforcement of any regulations. In recognition of the unique ecological importance of these waters for cetaceans, the International Whaling Commission took a significant step in 1994. It formally declared the Southern Ocean surrounding Antarctica as a whale sanctuary. This designation, in principle, prohibits all commercial whaling within its defined boundaries. However, the persistent issue of scientific whaling continued to cast a long shadow over the sanctuary's integrity. Whaling operations under scientific permit were still carried out within this supposedly protected area, creating a deeply contentious situation. This highlighted the profound disagreements among IWC member nations and the inherent complexities of enforcing international conservation agreements in such a remote and challenging environment. The intense struggle over whaling in Antarctica often unfolded far from the glare of mainstream media, a hidden war waged on the icy frontiers of our world. News from these distant waters was often sparse, typically emerging only when activist organizations managed to capture and release dramatic footage of confrontations or whaling activities. The whaling fleets themselves generally maintained a very low public profile, preferring to operate away from public attention. The extreme remoteness, the harsh conditions, and the specialized expensive equipment required to travel and operate safely in the Southern Ocean meant that very few independent journalists or observers could ever witness these events firsthand, contributing to the clandestine nature of this conflict. The confrontations at sea between the whaling fleets and the vessels of activist groups, most notably Sea Shepherd, were often fraught with tension and genuine danger. These activists, deeply committed to their cause, employed a range of direct action tactics. They would skillfully maneuver their smaller, more agile boats into positions designed to obstruct the harpoon ships, sometimes placing themselves directly between the harpoon and a fleeing whale. They were known to throw bottles of foul-smelling butyric acid onto the decks of the whaling vessels to disrupt operations and make conditions unpleasant for the crew. On occasion, these high-speed chases and maneuvers resulted in collisions between vessels, risking lives on both sides in the unforgiving Antarctic waters. Beyond the dramatic encounters on the high seas, the battle over Antarctic whaling was also waged in the more formal, though no less intense, arenas of international law and diplomacy. Anti-whaling nations, with Australia playing a leading role, pursued legal challenges against Japan's whaling program. This culminated in a landmark case before the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, in The Hague. In 2014, the ICJ delivered its judgment, ruling that Japan's Antarctic whaling program, known as JAPA 2, was not, in fact, for purposes of scientific research as claimed, and ordered its cessation. This was a hugely significant legal victory for whale conservationists and a major setback for Japanese whaling ambitions in the Southern Ocean. The importance of whales to our planet extends far beyond their aesthetic appeal or cultural significance. These magnificent animals are keystone species, playing a critical role in maintaining the health and balance of marine ecosystems. Through their feeding habits and their vast vertical movements through the water column, whales help to circulate essential nutrients. Their iron-rich fecal plumes act as fertilizer for phytoplankton, the microscopic organisms that form the base of the marine food web and produce a significant portion of the Earth's oxygen. This vital ecological process is often referred to as the whale pump. Furthermore, strong ethical arguments are made that these highly intelligent, sentient beings, with their complex social structures and communication, possess an inherent right to exist free from human persecution. As of today, 2025, the secret whale war in Antarctica has largely subsided. Following the ICJ ruling and continued international pressure, Japan announced its withdrawal from the International Whaling Commission in 2018 and officially ceased its Antarctic whaling expeditions. In 2019, it resumed commercial whaling, but this activity is now confined to its own coastal waters, an exclusive economic zone. While this marks a victory for those who fought to protect whales in the Southern Ocean, the global future for these giants remains uncertain. They now face a new suite of threats, including the pervasive impacts of climate change on their habitats and food sources, the insidious problem of plastic pollution, entanglement in discarded fishing gear, and the increasing cacophony of underwater noise pollution from shipping and industrial activities. The need for vigilance and continued conservation efforts remains paramount.